What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Work to Create podcast. I'm your host, Colton Bacher, and this is season 1, episode 5. Today, we're talking about a hard truth every creative will have to face: the need to be creative on demand, no matter where you are or how you're feeling. When this becomes your job, waiting for motivation is not an option. This episode is about building a system that enables you to be creative anywhere, anytime. Let's get into it.
I done came up, went through the ups and downs, but I stayed tough. Never took a shortcut and never gave up. This time around, I'ma stay up.
Right off the rip, I gotta do a little self-plug. If you haven't yet, check out my newsletter, A Work in Progress. I know a lot of you don't always have the time for an hour-long podcast, and I actually send over emails that can be read and digested in under 2 minutes. Plus, you'll be the first to get updates on products and offers way before podcast listeners or anyone on social media. So, pretty good deal. Link is in the description and show notes. That's out of the way now. Now we can talk about a really interesting topic, but it's also really relevant to me because I literally, I don't know, less than an hour ago, kind of had a little mini panic attack. And yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of projects going on, a lot of people depending on me, trying to make money, trying to stay afloat, trying to have a regular life, and I don't know, take my wife out to dinner for a date, like stuff like that. In addition to just like preparing for projects and client revisions, all that stuff, kind of just hit me all at once. And I actually leave tonight for Abu Dhabi, so yeah, just kind of on the clock right now, which is a bummer. But this topic today is hopefully going to help eliminate a little bit of that. If you're facing or feeling any of those things I just described, hopefully this topic, these ideas that I'm going to present you with, hopefully there's something that you can take action on and improve, your ability to, I don't know, just live life a little bit better, a little bit more stress-free or something like that. All right. The real problems creatives face. If you ever said to yourself, I don't know what to make, or yeah, it's gonna be a rough episode, ladies and gents. But this is real life. This is just how it goes. If you've ever said to yourself, I don't know what to make, or all my ideas suck, this is totally normal. Another classic is, I forgot the idea I had while I was doing X. So that could be taking a shower, going for a run, honestly doing anything else other than like sitting at your computer or doing creative things. And a lot of times ideas just come to us out of nowhere. And it's difficult to remember those things, and I'm sure a lot of you, like, ideas come in like spurts. So it's like, it's like 100 ideas all at once. And then later, nothing, and I think it's just so important to figure out a way to remember these ideas. So the reality is 99% of the time, we will never remember an idea that we had if we don't write it down or capture it in that moment. These struggles are universal. We all go through it, and they're purely symptoms of not having a system in place to capture those ideas. So another hard truth here is clients don't care if you're inspired or motivated. Your job is to deliver what they need on time and on brand. That's it. That's the hard truth. That is, I feel like right there is like 80% of what all creatives like struggle with, is like this, just putting out really good work and doing it consistently while fighting the battles of not being inspired or motivated to do things. So for example, I came to realize that this was a major issue, specifically in my own workflow, when I started doing a lot of festival jobs. Festival jobs are insane. That's what I'm going to Abu Dhabi for. Like, we've been doing so much pre-production because of how crazy the turnarounds are. We're going to need to have 7 artist recaps done within an hour of every set being done. So it's quite the feat. And what I realized early on when doing festivals is that you don't really get a choice. You know, there's no time to breathe. Like, it's purely put your head down and grind time in those moments. And when I first started doing them, I really struggled because I felt like I needed everything to be a certain way. I needed the room to be quiet. I needed to, have like a certain setup. And quickly I realized that, in addition to all the distractions and whatnot, that I was not going to be able to have that every single time for every single festival, wherever I am, right? So we must let go of these perfect condition expectations. If you think you need a studio, a desk setup at home, or the perfect vibe to create, you're setting yourself up for failure. You can't wait for the right vibe, because if you do that, you're self-sabotaging yourself. You're not going to be able to deliver on time and at the quality that you need to. And yeah, like, I really struggled when people would like distract me and like interrupt my flow during an edit, and that really, really bugged me for a long time. Um, and that created a lot of stress and anxiety, not only on the spot, but also anytime I took on a festival job. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, guys. And creating but this is like the thing. This is the hope that we got here, is that creating on demand is a professional skill. It is possible to do this and feel creative and be able to get into a flow. It is possible. It takes a little bit of understanding of the things that you need to have in place here. So the shift is treating ideas as raw materials to build with, and not as this magic that kind of just comes out of nowhere. Like, ideas are assets to you. They are valuable assets that you can use to develop your career and, implement those things into your work. So how do we do this? We build a capture system that works. Every idea that goes uncaptured is one step closer to being forgotten forever. So we have to be able to capture these ideas. I personally will explain kind of my system, and then we'll talk about you guys. So my system is, I use Notion, a Notion catalog. So Notion, you can go in and create like these really complex databases. And it takes a lot of work up front, but once you have it built, it's pretty smooth. And what I do is I have a catalog, and I have these like blocks, and each block can be labeled and organized according to category in different columns. And so what I do is, every time I have an idea, I create a block, and then I organize it by the project type or the category type of idea that it is. Okay. And then I currently, for example, so that's kind of just like ideas that you can write down. Then sometimes you're going to get inspired or motivated by work that you see, and that is a different catalog. So you need to create a catalog of references. So that's the videos that, or the photos that you see that inspire you, that you want to be able to refer to later. So those are kind of two different types of ideas, right? What I currently do for building a library of references is I record, record my screen on my phone while the video is playing, and then I save that into an album that's called like Video Inspo. And Eventually, I think I want to improve that system and build like another Notion board dedicated to like references and inspiration. But for now, that's kind of just like the easiest way for me to capture something and put it in a place that I can find it. Cause like, yeah, it's all about removing the friction of like capturing that idea or capturing that inspiration is how can we quickly and easily capture it. Now, this is for you guys. Based on what I've said, hopefully you have some ideas for how you would want to capture something. I know a lot of people use like Apple Notes and Evernote, I think, is like another program and app. But you need to do research into what method and system works best for you. You know yourself best and what will allow you to capture ideas with the least amount of resistance, like we talked about. So you just need to take a little bit of time, sit down, think about what is the easiest process for you to capture these ideas and these references, and then implement it. Set up the systems, set up the folders and the albums, and make it happen. Super important. Okay. And then now we're transitioning into idea generation, because it's one thing for ideas to just come to us, right? But we're professionals and we need to be able to have ideas on deck at all times. And maybe our quick bursts of ideas is not enough to feed, all the projects we have going on and stuff like that. Okay. So we need to treat idea generation like a skill. Coming up with ideas is a creative muscle that we need to exercise regularly. The more you train, the better you will become, and the results are better work. Okay? Better work equals happier clients, and happier clients equals bigger paychecks. And who doesn't like that? So, so the first kind of step that I would recommend in terms of like developing this skill is what I call brain dumping. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this, but yeah, essentially it's just there's no such thing as a good or bad idea. Whatever is front of mind, you write down, you put it down, and you just dump, 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 dump. Everything that comes to mind doesn't matter. There's no thought or consideration into if it even makes sense. It's just purely getting it down. And then we go back over that list and we pick out the little pieces of gold that we know are like keepers. And like I said, the more we do this, the better we're going to become. I've talked about it before, putting in reps. This is exactly like that. Just got to continue to put in reps over time. And I'm telling you, it will become easier and easier the more you do it. And eventually, it'll just become second nature, where you're able to just, like clockwork, figure out what it is that you need, and you'll become better at sifting through your brain dumps. So, a running idea bank helps you connect dots and generate content consistently. Sometimes the ideas that you write down aren't directly applicable to the project that you're working on in that moment, but looking at a list of ideas will often create a snowball of ideas that are directly connected to the project that you need ideas for. So it's quite literally the definition of like a spin-off. You can adapt ideas to fit the work that you need. So I think just having a bank, even if it's not related, is super valuable and powerful. For example, like there's some professions where their entire job is to literally get paid for their thoughts and ideas. For example, yikes. For example, consulting. Like if you're a consultant, that is, you purely get paid for your thoughts and ideas. Now, creatives, we do the same thing, except we take that idea from inception all the way to the final product. We kind of have complete control in a lot of situations. Obviously, not all. The client has a say, and whoever the client answers to has a say, and all of those things. But the idea remains the same. We have to think about ourselves not just as, someone that holds a camera or edits a video together. It is quite literally from idea to the piece of work getting put out into the world. That is what we do, and that's why this entire thing is so important. Um, yeah, and so I just think that having a system in place will now allow you to be creative any place, anytime, and hopefully it also puts you in a position to not feel as anxious or stressed when put on in a situation that's high pressure and high stakes. Uh, yeah. So I really hope that's helpful. If you guys have questions about this, please DM me. This is constantly a work in progress, and that's another thing is your system can change and grow over time as you do. So don't none of this is set in stone. It can constantly ebb and flow with your needs. So don't feel like you're putting yourself in a box by creating some system to capture your ideas. Um, and then one other note I would say is if an idea comes to you in a moment where you don't really have the phone or the computer by you, go get it. Go get the phone, go get the computer, and write that thing down. Because ideas are fleeting. Or even if it's a piece of paper or a sticky note or something, find a way to get that idea down. I'm telling you, your future self will be so grateful. So that's that. That's that. We're going on to the hot take segment. This is a little bit of a shorter episode, but short, punchy. We like that. Should artists and clients be obligated to tag videographers and photographers? So artists and clients frequently share videos and photos without crediting the creators behind them. I don't think this should even be a discussion, honestly. Regardless of your industry or your niche, there is no situation in which your name shouldn't be directly attached to the work that you made. In other words, yes, you should be tagged every single time. Every single time. Okay? This isn't about ego. It's about attribution, discovery, potentially getting future work, and building connections through mutual interests. I cannot tell you guys the amount of times that I've connected with another creative or another company because they were tagged in a video that I really enjoyed. I'm always looking to see what creatives and what companies were a part of a piece of work that I really like. And if they're not tagged, now I have no way to find that person. I have no way to potentially reach out to them about future work or ask them questions, build a connection. Like there's no way to do it because, I mean, you could DM the person or type in the comments who made this. 9 times out of 10, though, you're not going to get an answer. And I think that's a major loss. And I don't believe that tagging someone that made the video takes away from the intention of the video, the purpose of the video. I just think that's like a brand's ego, and I don't know, someone's ego. That's just like, yeah, like they made this for me. I paid for it, so therefore, it's mine, and I don't have to really like give anyone credit other than me because I paid for it and made it happen. And like, I don't know. I just think that's like a really selfish way of thinking. And I think when we have a business transaction with a client, I think it should be mutually beneficial and like we should both be happy about the way the project turned out and the exchange of value, like pure and simple. And I think being tagged is a part of that exchange of value. So here's a little bit of a supporting quote by Austin Kleon. If you're not familiar, he wrote How to Steal Like an Artist, and then one other book that was really good. If you just search his name, you will find some absolute gold. But what he says is, if you fail to attribute work that you share, you not only rob the person who made it, you rob all the people you've shared it with. Without attribution, they have no way to dig deeper into the work or find more of it. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. There's no situation in which I believe that doesn't make sense or that that's not true. So, but that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Am I out of pocket for saying that, or is there some truth in there? Let me know. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. All right, today's Q&A. It's I was a little bit behind on putting out like a little question box on the Instagram stories to get questions, so don't really have any Q&A today, but I came up with one for myself, kind of related to how I started out this video. It's how do you protect your mental health and avoid burnout? And I can only speak from experience and like what works for me in this situation, because I've, to be fully transparent, throughout my life and throughout my career, have always struggled with mental health. Um, it's ebbs and flows. It's some days are good, some days are bad, and that's just a part of life. But there are, I feel like, some things that we can do, and some things that I've been neglecting lately, uh, to avoid being in a situation where you feel like you're gonna have a panic attack. Like so. Number one for me is I need to have a physical routine. That's working out, doing yoga, just keeping my body in the best possible shape, drinking water. And I'll be honest, lately, because of how much work I've had, I've been neglecting that. And that's probably a major contributor as to why I'm feeling this way. And the other thing is where something I'm very conscious about is not scheduling too many jobs back to back. And I think in the last podcast episode you heard, I'll have now 6 weekends of not being home, and I'm really starting to feel it. And I just know myself that I'm not built like that. I don't want, like, I need breaks. I need time to recharge. And so, I mean, it's definitely on me for scheduling all this work back to back, but at the same time I need money. And I want to pay bills. I want to pay my debt off this year, and like can't do that without, when you're saying no to a bunch of work. And so yeah, that's kind of the internal struggle that I'm dealing with right now. And I think burnout is something everyone's going to deal with. Everyone's going to deal with it differently. Uh, but there are ways to combat that, to counter it. And I think you just have to pay attention to yourself. You have to know yourself and the things that might trigger certain feelings. And so it's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if any of you guys can relate or whatnot, but yeah, that's like that would be my advice to myself. So yeah, um, yeah. Shout out my wife. She just came in. She's been helping me de-stress a little bit. She's been helping clean around the house and do a little bit more of like the regular life stuff. And so, yeah, maybe that's another great example, is having someone in your life that's able to kind of pick up the slack when you're struggling. Um, so when we're talking about systems, right? Maybe we need to build a support system around us of people that we can lean on when things are getting crazy, when things are getting like too much, you know? And like, yeah, so I'm super grateful to have her in my life, and don't know where I'd be without her. But all right. It's enough of that. Next week's episode is all about a daunting question for anyone that works in music. Are traditional recap videos dead? And have you felt this shift as well? I can't wait for this one. Super juicy topic, directly relevant to my everyday work. Like, I'm literally getting, I'm going to Abu Dhabi tonight to go do a bunch of artist recaps. So it's really interesting. The current social media landscape, what works and what doesn't work right now is constantly changing, and it's fascinating. So we're going to dive into that. Um, and yeah, thank you for making it this far. I really appreciate you. This has been the Work to Create podcast. Again, if you made it this far, you're an absolute legend. If you found what you heard today valuable, even just a little, please consider liking, subscribing, following, commenting, and even leaving a review on your podcast app of choice. It helps this podcast get discovered, and hopefully, as a result, we can help more people. Your support means the world. Work to create, work to inspire, and I will see you in the next one.
I'm on a roll like a jalopy with the brakes cut. I done came up. Back then I had